This is Boomer Time, a proactive podcast for baby boomers, about baby boomers, and for people taking care of baby boomers. If that sounds like you, then you're in the right place. I'm Nancy Kogar, an elder law attorney and aging advocate, and this podcast was made just for you. Remember, though, the things we discuss here are not intended to be legal advice, and no attorney-client relationship is established by this podcast. Well, hello there, my friends. This is your host, Nancy Kogar, and this is Boomer Time. I hope you're doing well, and I am happy to have you here. If you're a first-timer, I hope you'll stay. But if you're a regular listener, welcome back. And as you know, if you've been here before, this podcast is all about creating community. And it's meant to be a safe place where we can all learn and talk about all these complex issues as we age. More and more boomers are reaching age 65 and beyond, and that means if you haven't done it already, then this is the time to start making those long-term plans for your senior years. There is a lot to think about, and it's not easy stuff. And I will tell you that time and time again, I've seen people failing to plan, and that is just planning to fail. So I'm here hopefully to help educate you about those things and build better awareness of the same. Also, if you're an adult child of a boomer and you've found yourself in a new role as caregiver, then this is the place for you too. I am an estate planning and elder law attorney here in Tennessee, and I have just seen too many people unprepared for the issues and circumstances that come with aging. And that is precisely why I created this podcast. So on this episode of Boomer Time, I am welcoming a very special guest. This guest has known me for a very long time, all my life. And there have been some good times. There's been some hard times, there's been challenging times, and even many celebrations. I'll give you another hint. This person cared for me when I was a youngin', and now I have the honor of caring for her in her older years. Have you figured it out? Yes, I am talking about my mother. So please join me in welcoming my wonderful mother, Carol Grimes. Hi, Mom.
Hello, Nancy.
Thanks for coming on the show today.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, and for those of you listening, we are here at Ashwood Square on Chaliford Road. So it's nice to be recording here, and this is where my mom lives.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I invited you, I shared that I wanted to talk with you about, entering these new seasons of life, which, as you and I know, are not sometimes so easy. And there are always some adjustments, and that includes relationships. But now I really feel comfortable and confident in saying that we're in a relationship now where I can say I have your back. And we're a team because then we also have my husband.
Yes,
Gary.
Superman,
yeah.
He's my bodyguard.
We're all working together as a team and working and acting to support you. So as I've shared with you before, I'm trying to help people in that process. And I was really surprised to learn that there are an estimated 34.2 million people in the U.S. right now who are in some kind of unpaid caregiving role with a family member.
Yes.
That's both adult children finding themselves in a new role as a caregiver, but also you boomers, right, who are often, dare I say, fiercely independent, successful.
Maybe I'm a little post-boomer.
Yeah.
But because I was born in 41.
Well, still you have some boomeritis. So you're not, independence is a huge thing.
Correct.
And that can be tough to try to give up, or even when you sense you're losing it. So I appreciate you coming here today, and that's why I wanted to talk through some of the challenges and even the celebrations that we've had. And, in having this relationship, we've had the opportunity to spend more time together, right?
Yes,
and
which I really enjoy.
Yeah, and then we've gotten to know each other differently in different ways. Of course, you're still my mother, and I'm still your daughter.
My baby.
But there's a blessing in having the opportunity to share as adults and care for one another. So I hope in this conversation that we can share some insight with others out there trying to make this transition, and things maybe if we are willing to share things we've learned over the years. So for those of you out there, just make sure to stick with us, because at the end, I am going to offer you some important and free resources that can help you with your long-term care planning. You know how I love resources. So, and these are issues I want to tackle together as a community. Those resources, if you've missed them before, they are on my website, nancykogar.com. That's a good website, isn't it, Mom?
Yes, it is.
And if you are new to the show, I also invite you to reach out to me through the website and tell me what you think. Ask me a question. Yeah, I know that's a dangerous thing.
Laughing because, you're right. Because when I saw it, I thought, "Oh, Nancy, you should wear that blazer more, not that white."
Yep. See, so, she's always my mom.
You're always going to put your 2 cents in, and then I'm getting better though at not doing that.
No, well, it's all right. That's what I said. You're still my mom, right? Tell me if my hair is out of joint or if my attitude's out of joint. So, I'm looking forward to this, Mom. And when we come back, and stick with us, people, we're gonna talk about some of the things we've been through, and then, what might help somebody that's facing this. So we'll be right back.
Okay.
Welcome back. This is Boomer Time, and I am your host, Nancy Kogar, and I am joined today by my wonderful mother, Carol Grimes. Mom, thanks again for making time today to join me.
My time is your time.
And, I know I talked a lot in the intro, but I want to hear from you now, okay? And I'm sure you've got words of wisdom and sage advice, and I want you to be honest, you know me, I can take it, so I want this to help someone else. So I thought maybe we'd start talking about where we are currently, and then kind of work backwards, because I think more people have problems with the transition than, arriving.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, I mentioned you're currently living in an independent living community. So that's where we are today.
Yes.
And you've been here a couple of years, so I'm going to ask you a loaded question. How do you like it here?
Well, what I couldn't give up that I have here is friendships with my peers. I think very often too much emphasis is on, you're not going to have to cook, you're not going to have to do this, you're not going to have to do that, you're not going to have to drive. And frankly, those are all the things we feel lost. Real deep loss about not having to do those things because that was part of our nature. But what we really needed and need when we reach my age is friends who understand each other, and friends who we can laugh together about our kids' reaction to certain things. And so, it's turned out to be a real godsend. When you walked in the door that day, I had prayed in the morning that I said, well, God, if you're going to keep me around, you got to find something for me to do, because this is getting really bad. I like people. Sometimes I don't, but mostly I do. And when you walked in the door and said, would you ever consider an independent living place? I said, sure, go get me one.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, because just to give you an idea out there. So my mother was not in her home anymore, but you were in an apartment.
Yes. Very nice.
But you spent a lot of time alone.
Yes.
And I find a lot of people that come in and want help from me, they talk a lot about not wanting to lose their independence at home. But there is also a lot of loneliness fear,
yes,
loss of a spouse.
yes.
It's a huge transition.
You lose life, actually, if you stay alone.
Mm-hmm.
You're just isolated, and you can keep yourself happy and occupied only so long, and then you need other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but I'm very surprised to know that you all make fun of your kids.
Well, you'd be amazed how you all think we're all the same. Well, we all think you're all the same with your complaints about what we're doing, etc. But no, overall, though, we all say, "Oh, we love our children." Some people have too much emphasis on well, they're going to invite me over for lunch. Why don't you tell them I really miss you? Would you invite me over for lunch?
Right.
Oh, no, I couldn't do that. And of course, there you go again with fear of rejection.
Right.
So you're not letting your kid know that, the only thing I really would like to do is spend some time watching a goofy video like Noodles.
Right. Yeah, we're big Noodles fans.
Yeah,
here.
Noodles. And then take that tension out of it. So I miss you. I really want to spend some time with you. We know that what you want for us is that we're safe, that we're well cared for, and that just makes us feel again like that deep loss of having that role reversed, because that's the way we would feel about you when you were little, and now
Well,
so it's an adjustment.
And you raise a really good point, which I wanted to talk about as well, and that is just being able to have open and honest communication.
Yes.
I think that is a huge thing.
Yes.
Trust is a big piece of that. And if you don't trust your kids, then how in the world are you going to give them access to your medicines, your medical care, your finances, but that needs to come with communication, right?
And there are some children that you can't trust.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I have, as you mentioned, I've worked in this business, and some children really dislike the idea that you're using up their inheritance. In my case, I didn't have that problem because I was a big spender all my life. So,
well, I tell people that they should not plan their retirement by waiting on an expectancy interest. That is not
That's true. That's
not a
true.
good retirement plan.
Yes, this is true.
So, and there are some things that have helped over the years, and you might start with groceries, transportation, doctor's appointments, refilling prescriptions, but there's things you can do to kind of help lessen the load.
Yes.
And I think we've discovered those things over the years too.
Yes, we have. Because in the beginning it was, you can do this, you can do that. And really, the best part of somebody running an errand for me, being like you and Gary, because you're all of everything for me, is that I get to see you. And then I realized that I could have more quality time with you by using some of the conveniences that we're able to afford. So, but you and I we've had some knockdown, drag-out fights in our lifetime, but there was never any question how much we loved each other. So.
Yeah.
And I hate to tell you this, but you're a lot like me.
Well, I can accept that. I think also, for people out there that find themselves fighting with their parents, you can't fight with people unless you trust them. That's there's a frustration level, but I think that. And what I often counsel people about is why don't we look at this, as a third party? Let's figure out what the fears are there, what's the concerns, where do we start? Because you don't come into this finding, I need to plan for my nursing home care. That's quite the opposite when it comes to me. We're looking at, I'm starting to decline. How can I plan ahead so you could avoid that end game?
And I think it's on both sides, because very often I've met people who their parents have dementia, and they don't want to hurt mom. They don't want to, she'll be devastated to be put into a facility that she needs more help. But then what happens is that parent is manipulating their child. And it's very hard for that parent. Well, I think the parent sort of makes those demands, but it's very hard for that child to see that they're being manipulated. That then you just have to be tough when, I wouldn't let you run across the road when you were little.
Right.
They can't let their parents run across the road when they're having dementia.
Yes, and that's an important point. Part of the reason you need to choose people correctly when it comes to powers of attorney and healthcare powers of attorney.
Exactly.
And since you brought that up, I think I saw that another survey that related to caring for aging adults, and believe it or not, I think 53% or more of the adult kids felt like they had no say, no input, no option. That is the wrong attitude to begin that.
I've talked with several young people of parents I know who need help, but that's another story, so we won't go there right now. But you're right. They just want their mother to feel loved, and as a result, they're all being torn in 18 million directions.
Because you're not going to win that battle. No.
I saw a description of something the other day about an octopus on roller skates. That's what their life becomes like.
Yeah.
So I thought that just think about that when you're being torn in so many directions. But anyway.
And I think, you're a person of faith like me too. And I think having faith in God is a big help.
Yes.
Because,
you're never alone.
No. Yeah. And we pray together, and, and a lot of things in life just don't make sense. They won't. They will never make sense.
I've mentioned to you in one of my meditations, there was everyone's saying, oh, you're taking this so well. I'm going through some health issues. And I said, well, it's in the hands of God. And that's easy for me to say right now. But when I'm really, down in the dumps, I may be not feeling so confident. But I read this meditation where on Christ, when he went to the garden and wept and begged his Father to have him be spared of the cup that he was to receive, that we shouldn't feel totally guilty about occasionally asking God, wait a minute, I really want you to, be with me, but I really want you to make this disease go away, or this problem go away. Sure. And that's meditation and relying on your beliefs is very important. It'll help you through it gives you that spiritual lift.
Yeah. And matter of fact, our last episode on Boomer Time was about the need for respite care.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And I think that's a big issue too.
Yes, especially for people who keep their parent at home. There are ways to put them into respite care. And it's a nice way to ease into it too. Like, well, Mom, I'm going to be traveling, therefore you should go and stay. Not you should go, but you'd use better language than that. But this way I can enjoy my vacation and not worry that you're being cared for. You have to say, we used to call them therapeutic lies. And that is that you don't tell the parent that you're afraid of them running off into the woods or something. That's silly. I'm reaching there, but what I'm saying is that you have to find a way that it's palatable for the parent and gives you the freedom you need to recharge batteries, or else you're going to be that octopus on roller skates.
Yeah, and I don't want to be an octopus on roller skates. So, well, and I think, relationships are key. Not everybody is the same, but we all want the same thing: comfort, safety, and to know that we can trust who's taking care of us. So if you need help, there is help available. Yes. And I'm going to take a quick break with you, Mama.
Okay.
And then when we come back, we're going to talk about some of that help.
Okay, good.
And we are back on Boomer Time with Nancy Kogar and her Mama, Carol Grimes.
Carol Grimes.
Yeah. Before the break, we were talking about communication.
Yes.
And you said something during the break, which I think is worth bringing up before we go to the next topic. And that is, there's all these different dynamics with relationships. So you've got an adult child caring for an adult parent, and then you've got the adult child maybe married to someone. And there's different kinds of relationships contained within that even small unit. But you said something that I thought was important to share in terms of communication, that essentially that parents want to know that they're respected.
Yes, that is very important to people my age and older. We have, the need for respect, and it goes both ways. The child needs to feel respected, but respect is a big thing on how you approach it, because that really cuts at the heart.
And I think a lot of it is understanding the point that they're in at that time,
Yes.
because they're not there yet.
No.
No.
But
being more thoughtful.
Yeah,
maybe,
to be prepared for that.
Yeah, because that's going to be you someday, That's what I tell people.
Oh, it's me now.
Not you. Well, no, I'm not talking to you.
No, I know.
So, see, can you tell we have a good relationship? Yeah. Well, and the other thing we wanted to talk about with you, Mom, was the fact that, this stuff is not easy. So, but there is help available. And I think it takes time to learn about some of those things. And we've worked through some of those things. I didn't understand what Medicare was until I started dealing with it. And, it's very complicated. You need to know what kind of insurance your parents have, where the limits are, what it provides, what it doesn't provide. Not in addition to that, what kind of supplemental insurance do they have? Who are their doctors? Do they have VA benefits? All these things offer
a lot
things.
of people don't realize that there are benefits out there for them, and that's why they need to. I was lucky because I worked in the industry for a while, and I started seeing what was going on, and I learned about them. But there's such confusion about Medicaid. People think, oh, Medicaid, we'll go on Medicaid. Well, good luck with that, because there's not that much funding for Medicaid.
No.
And most of you wouldn't want your parent. Well, I shouldn't say that.
I come from the perspective that I try to work in a planning sense so that nursing home care is just not necessary, period.
That's better. That's better. And it's extremely expensive. And I'm not knocking them, but...
well, it is.
It's
$10,000 a month currently.
And I don't know anybody who can shell out, besides their own expenses, $120,000 a year.
Yeah.
If
it's
they
a
do,
lot.
God bless them.
But, it is true, too, that not everybody has a temperament to be a caregiver. So
yes,
there's some options. We looked at some of these. You could stay at home. You could move in with your children.
I did both of those.
Yeah. Enough said.
And that was not such a it was good for the time it was. Yeah. Well, I was going through transition, I was a caregiver for someone whom I loved very much, and they, I went through those stages of a child. So some ways, I think that toned you for what's to come, and you start seeing things differently.
I agree with that. And then you can make updates to your house, and actually. Some of those things can be deductible if you do need to apply for Medicaid.
Yes.
But
I'm just thinking about the pickle incident. But that's okay, forget it.
I don't know what she's talking about.
The pickle
people.
incident, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when you're thinking you're doing something really good. But I shouldn't go there.
Now I have to share it.
Okay.
So, and hopefully we won't go over, but so the pickle episode. My mother lived with us, and me and my husband, and we also had our godson with us, and we had for a while my adopted
Yes.
grandmother and 5 dogs in
Yes.
our house. So you can just imagine what
Yes.
that was like.
Yes.
So my mother thought she was going to help me one day. So we had several different types of pickles in the refrigerator because my husband likes a certain kind of pickle. I like a different kind of pickle, and he doesn't want anything to do with some of the pickles. Well, my mom said, well, why don't I combine all the pickles in one jar?
Yes. Well, I was cleaning the refrigerator.
Right.
I thought I was doing a good thing.
And that led to a big
Brouhaha.
brouhaha. Yeah. So anyway, that's the pickle episode. But that just tell you that, we're people. So, it doesn't take much
when
sometimes.
those little silly things get on your nerves, it means it's time to reconsider.
Yes. Well, Gary and I did an episode. You might want to go back and listen to.
It made me laugh. Yeah.
It was about before you bring the parents in and you're married, you want to talk about how that's going to work.
Yes. And you have no idea until it happens.
Yeah. So go back and listen to that.
Yeah.
I think it would be worthwhile.
Yeah.
Just a couple other little notes since we got diverted with the pickle story. But you can get professional care in your home. You can contract with people, daily basis, weekly basis. Mm-hmm. You can petition the court for a conservatorship. If your parents are just cantankerous and they don't want to hear it from you and you are not the appropriate person to care for them for whatever reason, and you don't have powers of attorney or alternates or anything like that, you can petition the court for a conservatorship. I mean, that's an extreme, but it's an option.
It's important.
It's an option. And believe it or not, Tennessee and every state has an ombudsman office, and that is supposed to be a resource and advocate for someone that can problem solve issues that you cannot resolve on your own. Mm-hmm. So I think those are important things. And, as you mentioned, Mom, you can get those on the website here, my website, nancykogar.com. We always have that kind of stuff, but also Tennessee.gov. TN.gov, actually. They got a pretty good website, so there are lots of good resources.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that brings us, I think, to what I wanted to talk about finally.
What's that?
And that is kind of ultimately, the things that matter the most. Mm-hmm. And there is an author that wrote The 4 Things That Matter the Most. Mm-hmm. That book was written well over 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. He's a doctor in palliative comfort care, hospice care. Mm-hmm. And he talked about what's important when you get to the end of your life. There are a lot of things that are important from a faith aspect. There are a lot of things that are important from a planning aspect. But then this just kind of boils down to having some peace, with your family in particular.
Yes.
So he said you should incorporate or try to incorporate some of these things into the dialogue with your loved ones, because it would bring a tremendous amount of grace into our lives during a time when, that's just not very easy. Mm-hmm. And caring for someone else is never easy anyway. Mm-hmm. So
I'll read this book.
Yeah, it's a good book. And I may put a link on the website so you can find this book if you like it to read it. But these 4 things that he said, everybody should incorporate into their conversations are, please forgive me. Mm-hmm. No one's perfect. Mm-hmm. That may be a hard thing to say, but just say it. Please forgive me. Mm-hmm. And then the other one is, I forgive you. You know how many people I hear just battling and struggling with things that have happened 10, 20 years ago.
Yes.
Just tell somebody you love that you forgive them.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was angry with my mother for about a number of things, but the 2 important ones bothered me all through my life. And I had a dream recently that about her, and she was clearing a path, and it was a snowy path. There was lots of snow, but she cleared a path. But the path only went so far. It didn't get to the top of the rise, and that part hadn't been cleared. Mm-hmm. And basically, I understood that she was saying, I did what I could. Mm-hmm. And that, and I said then, I'm sorry, Mom.
Yeah, and there's
didn't
forgiveness in that.
understand that.
It gives you peace.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
people do the best they can with what they have.
Yeah. Yeah, that's important to know. You know, and then the other two, I think, just kind of simple, but thank you.
Yes.
You know, thank you for doing what you could do.
Yes, exactly.
And I love you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're never going to love a perfect person. But,
No.
Right?
Not if you're going to love me.
Or me. But yeah, those are the things people want to hear. That, you know, yeah. So I thought there was a lot of wisdom in that and just wanted to share that. So,
yes.
And you know, I end my shows with encouragement. I think that's encouraging, but also with some prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to take some time to just pray for you, Mom, and pray for parents out there, and for the children who are, you know, faced with the challenge of caring for their parents.
Mm-hmm.
And just let you know that, you know, let's all just remember what's important in all that, and that's caring and protecting and loving one another in an imperfect way, and then just being honest with each other.
Yes.
And if you need help, ask for help.
Yes.
So just to have that wisdom, God, just give us that wisdom and give us the grace that only you can give us, and protect my dear mother
and my dear daughter.
And thank you for her. So love you, Mom.
Love you too.
Amen. Oh, this has been an emotional show. So I was a little concerned about what you were going to bring up, but the pickle story was okay.
I'm sorry. I was really, it was funny because I was trying 8 ways to Sunday to be useful to them and cleaning the refrigerator. I thought, well, you know, but I'm like a clean freak.
Yeah.
And I thought, why do we have all these jars? Oh, let's put the pickles all in one jar, you know.
Yeah. Well, again,
Anyway,
it's always perspective, right?
Yeah, exactly. So. But now it's very funny to me. But at the time I was really annoyed.
We were in a pickle.
I was in a pickle. That's right.
Well, Mom, thanks for being here.
Oh, are we still on?
We're wrapping up.
Oh,
so
sorry.
Yeah, we're wrapping up. So
I thought we were chit-chatting.
No, that's okay.
Oh, okay.
That's all right.
Well,
but thanks for joining us out there.
Yes.
I want you to remember that you are not alone in your struggles. In fact, as I said earlier, there are 34.2 million of us out there who are going through what you are going through to some degree.
Yes.
So there is community in that. Do not let anyone convince you otherwise. And there is also help available, some of which I've mentioned here. There's other help. Like I said, reach out to your faith community, your community resources, friends, families, neighbors, you know, the government websites, my website. This is not something to be done alone. So I encourage you today to stay tuned here as well, and I will continue to offer those helps and resources and conversations that need to be had as we work along this journey together.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Mom?
Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
Yeah.
You'll be with me forever.
Yeah. So we're in this together.
Yes.
So. All right, people. Well, I hope you have a wonderful week ahead, and I will see you next time.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.